Nintendo confirmed that there's going to be a Switch 2 edition of Mario Wonder, and this time it's actually going to add not only just tons of multiplayer content, but also some single-player content in the form of the Koopalings making a return. Now, this is something that we've talked about prior a lot, because this is something that I really wanted to see in Mario Wonder. Over the years, I think people have gotten kind of tired of the Koopalings and started to want more bosses than just them in the 2D games, but after Mario Wonder completely cut them out for just Bowser Jr. boss fights, I think it's safe to say that we really miss the Koopalings right now. But now that we know that the Koopalings are in fact coming, we can talk about this a little bit further now. But before we dive into all the Mario Wonder goodness, make sure you leave a like and subscribe and help us reach our goal of 400,000 subscribers. We are getting close to 380. You can make this happen super soon, so let's see how many people we can get to subscribe from today's video alone. Let's set off for like 60. How about that? Alright, let's jump into the video. Now, as for the footage that we have about this single player content for Mario Wonder that's coming, we only have about 9 seconds of footage to go off of, so I'm gonna have to slow it down just to kind of spread it out so we can talk about it a lot more. But yeah, with this 9-second footage, we only get one look at a Koopaling within an actual stage, and that's Wendy. Now with this scene, she doesn't appear in a boss arena. In fact, it's the second stage of the game, the very beginning of that stage being Piranha Plants on Parade. Now it's pretty interesting because why is Wendy just appearing in a random stage in the game? Now I would assume this is just going to lead to inevitable boss battles within each area with each Koopaling. Now, when I talked about the Koopalings potentially making it in Mario Wonder a long time ago, this is kind of the map that I pulled out, because there's actually 7 regions in the game, which works perfectly slapping a Koopaling in each one. Now, clearly I have to reshuffle these characters, because it looks like Wendy is going to appear in World 1. She'll probably be the very first boss that we fight of the 7 Koopalings. But why is she just randomly popping up in the second stage of the game? Well, I feel like it might not just be simple boss battles with them. I mean, that would be kind of boring, wouldn't it? If we just fought all 7 of them and boom, that's the end of the single player DLC. So I would assume that maybe she appears in some past stages and we have to chase her through the stages, maybe even trying to defeat her as we're chasing her, or maybe she's manipulating the stages, making them harder versions, which we've seen stuff like this with Kirby and the Forgotten Land Switch 2 edition, making some of the past stages replayable, but this time with new paths and in harder versions. We can see Wendy in this area is about to be consumed by that dark cloud of wonder effects that both Bowser, Bowser Jr., and the entire Bowser army has been consumed with in the entire game, so we can assume that she's going to have a wonder effect as well, which we'll get into in a second. But I can imagine what the Koopalings would do is actually transform some of the stages and have some fun, wackier versions of the stages that we know and love. Like Piranha Plants on Parade is a lot of people's favorite wonder event in the game, where it turns all the Piranha Plants into this big musical and they're all singing and dancing and marching to the beat. So imagine if they completely changed the song with a remixed version of this stage and it's more like a heavy metal and they're moving quicker and they're jumping everywhere. The trees in the background are bobbing their heads and it's just a completely different version of this stage. And perhaps Wendy's wonder effects are specific to her. Maybe we can see her rings flying around the stage and bouncing off platforms as an obstacle that you have to dodge. But that gets me into the next part here. I would assume there's going to be a new special stage at the end of each world where we straight up just fight the Koopalings in a regular boss battle. Now Bowser Jr. had tons of random effects, because Bowser Jr. doesn't necessarily have one thing that he's known for. I guess you could say his paintbrush, but it's nowhere to be seen within this game. So I'm guessing that the wonder effects are going to actually use what the Koopalings are known for as part of their boss battles. So let's get into how they would work and let's remap where each one might be on the map. Now we know Wendy's going to be in the first world, but how is she going to actually function with her wonder effects? Well, at first I thought she'd be appearing in the snow world or the water world, simply due to the fact that lots of her boss battles either feature ice or water, and we've already seen a boss battle that's very similar to a water battle that she's had in the past. There's literally a Bowser Jr. boss fight that's pulled directly from Wendy's boss fight in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and he even manipulates the water with his wonder powers. So I'm actually pretty shocked they didn't save this idea for something that Wendy could do, and then on top of that, she could throw her rings around the room. But since this is focused on the first world, which doesn't have any water or any ice, I think we need to focus on the actual rings that she throws instead. I think her main wonder effect is going to be based on her rings, where she throws different sizes, different forms, and they have different abilities. Maybe she has one that moves really slow and another that moves really fast. Even in the RPGs, she kept that ring on her as a defensive item, so I can see it playing a big role in Mario Wonder. Now, thanks to Wendy having absolutely no correlation in World 1, I have no clue where the others could be placed. It seems like it's just random and what Nintendo wanted to do, but I tried to make some sense out of some of them. So yes, I kept some the same as my original post, but also moved some around. But we're gonna throw Iggy in Shining Falls. This might be a reach, but But Shining Falls is known for having moving platforms on those dotted designated paths, so it feels like something that they could slap Iggy on. Like most of his prior boss battles, they pretty much had moving platforms, and he also would use his Chain Chomp, which is a big part of Iggy's moveset. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Chain Chomps don't even exist as a current enemy in Mario Wonder, so it would be a cool new addition, and they could have just a wacky, wonderfied version of a Chain Chomp. Maybe it's just giant and wacky looking, and, you know, he's moving all over a stage, and you have to, you know, once again attack Iggy as he's falling behind his little train car. I also feel like slapping him somewhere in that desert region just makes a lot of sense, either in Sun-Baked Desert or Shining Falls. Or who knows, there was a lava-themed boss battle in New Super Mario Bros. U, so maybe he appears in the lava world. Now for Sun-Baked Desert, I decided to slap Morton there. Now Morton's past iterations has been primarily pretty boring. I mean, the most interesting part of him is getting a hammer, like he has in Paper Mario Color Splash and also Super Mario Bros. U. And in New Super Mario Bros. U, he actually uses the hammer in order to hit segments of a pokey in a sand area. So I think doing something with his hammer would make a lot of sense. Maybe the Wonder Effect makes his hammer like super huge, and whenever he slams it, something wild happens with the area, like moving the platforms or pieces of the terrain. I mean, there's a lot of boss battles where the terrain just moves when he jumps on it because he's a heavier character, so something like that would also make sense. However, there is a boss battle where he throws spiked balls at you, so wouldn't it be really cool if you could use the spike ball Wonder Effect and turn into a spike ball and actually have to run into him with it? So I hope they actually use the Wonder Effects in different ways while transforming us as well instead of just the boss. That would be awesome. Now Ludwig is not as easy to play somewhere because he's just random and weird, it feels like. A lot of the times it almost feels like Nintendo wants to push him to this mad scientist route like the old TV shows where he creates these weird constructions, giant robots or machines. Paper Mario Color Splash had him manning a giant battleship which actually had a submarine that he built underneath it, so there's multiple things they could do with maybe him creating some type of giant machine for us to fight. But I chose Fluff Puff Peaks to place him in simply because it's the highest point on the map, and it seems to be similar to lots of the times we battle him, which seems to be in the Sky World. His battles are known for having heights, where you're really high in a tower or moving on fast-moving platforms, moving upward, and he likes to float around kind of like Yoshi in the air. So what if it was like the Hoppy Cat Wonder event, where we had to chase him all the way up to the top of the screen in order to attack him? Also in New Super Mario Bros. U, he does something very similar to one of the Bowser Jr. boss fights in Wonder, where he duplicates himself, and only one is the real Ludwig. So maybe they revisit that concept, but I still think it would have been better if they just saved it for Ludwig's moveset. Now, I have been convinced for a while now that Nintendo has no clue what they want to do with Larry. All of his past encounters just feel like nothing boss battles. It feels like just Bowser Jr. again. I mean, for the most part, his main gimmick has always been just moving platforms. Platforms raising and lowering. That's literally all he's ever done. He has a wand that does nothing but shoot some slow projectiles. So, like, I don't even know what to give him. I mean, he needs some type of variety here. Once again, the whole moving platform thing has already been done by Bowser Jr. in base Mario Wonder, and it actually would have made a lot of sense considering the fact that he's had multiple different types of moving platforms before, like water and concrete. So obviously with Bowser Jr. having the effects of like honey and ice would have been really cool to see for Larry, but not for him. But why slap him in the lava world? Well, I don't know. No other Koopaling really fits that bill of like a lava-based enemy or has lava-based attacks. So I figured, well, this is the only one that doesn't really make sense, and you know, the only one that I could possibly slap in this area, so who cares? I mean, even his boss battle in Color Splash was just him riding a train. Like, that was it. So I'm sorry, Larry, but you're just not fun. Now, Lemmy is probably the easiest one to predict, not location-wise, because who knows what they're going to do. I just slapped him into the swamp area. There's a Halloween-themed stage in that area, and it kind of, I don't know, lines up with what I think Lemmy would be around. Just kind of goofy, wacky things going on. But it's very clear what his Wonder powers and Wonder Effect will be based on. It'll be based on the bouncy ball. He loves his bouncy ball. In every single iteration of Lemmy, we've seen him with his bouncy ball. So I would be shocked if there's no Wonder event where he's just like on a humongous bouncy ball and there's like tons of different styles of bouncy balls that he's chucking at you and you have to climb up to hit him. He could even maybe use the hoppos for that since they're so bouncy in this game. But yeah, I mean, this one's just night and day. Now, as far as the location, like I said, the swamp area could work. park, or I could see it even being the desert with the red and blue switches that one of the boss battles has in New Super Mario Bros. 2. So yeah, it's hard to say where, but I would be shocked to the core if there's no bouncy balls within his moveset in this game. Now, last but not least, we have Roy Koopa. Roy Koopa makes just too much sense. Put him within the Bowser floating castle area in the middle, simply due to the fact that he's the bullet bill guy. Now, he's had some iterations where it looks like Nintendo doesn't know what to do with him, where he just falls out of pipes or has some moving walls, which were pretty weird, but New Super Mario Bros. U really nailed him by giving him a bill launcher and allowing him to fire things at Mario as he hops around the platforms. They also gave him this same launcher to fire paint at Mario in Paper Mario Color Splash, and with Mario Wonder, they added tons of new bullet bills to this game, like Missile Megs, even ones that are like dragons that follow you around, and ones that stick in suction cup to walls. So his Wonder event could be him with a very special Wonderfied bill cannon where he's able to shoot out all types of different bullet bills and you have to defeat him. Now, I will say the Wonder effects could manipulate what the Koopalings are known for, but it also could do something completely different. Like we said, Wendy being in that Piranha Plants on Parade stage, perhaps it turns her into a wacky looking Piranha Plant, because there are a lot of Wonder events that transform us, the players, so I would love to see some that maybe transforms our enemies into something wacky as well. But at this rate, who knows? The game doesn't come out until the beginning of next year, so we still have a while to go until we probably get another trailer regarding this Switch 2 edition, but I can't wait to see what the Koopalings are all going to look like, and I can't wait to see how they're executed as boss battles in Mario Wonder. So let me know what you're expecting from the Koopalings in Mario Wonder. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I hope you all have a blessed day. See you guys.